Good morning, good evening. So in this video, I'm going to be covering, and I haven't had this request in a long time, but I had the topic brought up in a discussion, and it kind of inspired me to do a live video with my interpretation and my explanation of Nikola Tesla's 369. And just as all my videos, I'm not saying that this explanation is the absolute truth or is the definite. There are many videos explaining Tesla's 369, and there's many different beliefs behind it, but I'm going to offer my explanation, my findings, my beliefs on what he meant when he said this here. And I know everything's backwards, forgive me. But he said, if you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would have the key to the universe. So I'm going to offer you my discovery of this key, how it works through prime and composite numbers. I'm going to explain and give a breakdown of his chart, which I've drawn myself, and hopefully kind of make some relations, some connections to the esoteric findings and doctrines as well. Because believe it or not, by the end of this video, you should have connected Nikola Tesla's 369 to the esoteric doctrines, to the Enochian doctrines as well. Because the same talk about two being one. The two are always one. And it, believe it or not, 369 proves oneness. 369 is no different than two coming from one source. So for instance, if you look at a lot of the esoteric doctrines or a lot of the esoteric pictures, let me see if I can pull one up here. I should have been prepared better. It shows a lot in the esoteric pictures. It shows a lot of duality, polar opposites. And I'm going to show you exactly what this is and how it connects to Tesla's 369. See, Tesla discovered the very same thing that these men in esoteric beliefs, like Manly P. Hall. Manly P. Hall had discovered oneness through a completely different avenue than Nikola Tesla. But what Nikola Tesla says about the 369 is no different. It's the same message as Manly P. Hall and as all the esoteric doctrines. But we must break it down and understand it beyond the duality of it. So, sorry, I'm trying to find a good duality picture. So I can use this right here. This is a perfect. Forgive me, I'm just trying to find a good image to reference here. So this right here is from esoteric knowledge, beliefs, as above, so below. And what it's doing is it's showing you that the guy above is literally, if you flip it, it's the same guy below. One's dark, one's light, one's life, one's death, one's representing the mirror of duality, of the dualistic principle, which is all the esoteric doctrines talk about. If you're familiar with Freemasonry, a lot of us are under the impression Freemasons know stuff that we don't. They hold something that we do not. And I'm going to explain to you exactly what that is. The same way esoteric doctrines talk about two being one is the same with Freemasonry. They hold they hoist two pillars, always, because again, every single thing is telling the same message. That's what makes Nikola Tesla's findings so beautiful, is he didn't spell it out for us like Manly P. Hall or like these people giving you pictures. He simply stated a quote, and it's intrigued people's minds since the day he left that quote, because people have been trying to understand 369, because if I could just understand that, then obviously, he says, you'd have a key to the universe. So this is what Freemasons always hold dear to them, is the dualistic principle of two pillars, two erect pillars. One is the earth and one is space. One is the inner principle and one is the outer principle. One is the beginning principle and one is the ending principle. One is the chaotic principle and one is the order principle. But you notice how there's always, the I in the center, which what people think is Satan. This is bad. This is evil. But remember, evil must have an intention behind it. If this wants to harm you, if this I is going to come into your sleep and harm you, this is now evil. But evil is subjective, meaning it comes from you and your mind. You decide what is evil. But make no mistake, evil can only be what is trying to harm you. And I can assure you, this picture, nor any picture, will ever jump out of the picture, jump out of the paper, and harm you. It's impossible. So fear not symbols. Symbols are what we're leaving behind to communicate to ourselves. Think of it like this. If you have died, or you're quitting a video game before going to work, but you want to save your progress. You don't want to do everything all over and start all over and have to find everything all over again, so you save the game. It's the same thing with this. With this incarnation, let's just say, if I discover God and I am aware that one day I will not be able to speak again, however, I will still incarnate through a new being. What would I do? It's just like saving the game. Let me create symbols for myself to speak and show myself from the next veil. So although Tyler is dead and gone, Tyler is beneath the ground, Tyler is gone in the wind, dust. I have left behind the very symbol in which I found myself. That's what these symbols are. We're leaving behind a singular picture of God that will show us this is who we are. You are God. That's what these symbols are trying to represent and show to us, is that you are God. That's why you've left these symbols behind for yourself. But back to my point. What this illuminating eye, and you notice how it's always illuminating beyond itself. What this illuminating eye represents is what's known as the third eye. But you see, Freemasons do not offer you a practice to opening your third eye because they know it's rubbish. They know you'd be wasting your time. They know you'd be spinning your wheels going nowhere. The opening of the third eye is discovering where this illuminating light is coming from. Hence, the morning star. You are the morning star. Satan was the morning star. Satan and Jesus are one and the same. So it goes back to that dualistic principle of opposites. There's always two, but they are always one. And that's what this will show you. The 3, 6, and the 9. So now let me get into my point. This principle is applied to every single thing we know and exist through today. So, let's begin with this. This is going to be your 3, and this is going to be your 6. Oh, I forgot one thing. Sorry. And again, I know it's backwards, but just try and bear with me. So this is your positive, and this is your negative. This male, male principle is going to be your 3. So the 3 is your male. The 3 is your beginning. The 3 is life. Now you come over here and you have the 6. Female, negative. It's the end. It's death. And remember, it does not matter. I could take all the list and qualities from the 6, put them over to the 3. I could take all the qualities from the 3, put them over to the 6. Why would it matter if the 2 are already one and the same? This is what is talked about in the book of Jacob, Logian 22. It's called the 2 becoming 1. And it spells out the answer for you. I'll get back to that in 1 second. But Jesus was asked by his apostles, how do we discover God from within us? How do we discover this divinity that you have found through us? How do we achieve this? Where do we experience this? And his response was Logian 22, the 2 becoming 1. When you make the inner as the outer and the outer as the inner, when you make the masculine the male, so it's no longer just male, and when you make the feminine, so it's no longer just female. In other words, when you make the 2 become 1, he says, you shall attain the sovereignty. And what this also proves to people is he didn't ask them to worship him. He didn't tell them to get on their knees and bow to him. He didn't do any of that. So what we have introduced is all these characteristics of worshiping the teapot instead of drinking from it. And I've explained why we've done this in my last video, because the belief of Jesus keeps us from having to face death ourselves. Here is a man who has faced death. He's already faced it. He's achieved the level of God. He is with God the highest because he was willing to face death. So by believing in him, by believing in his power, you will never face death because he has done it for you, and you believe that this is the way. But you are the way, and you have been the whole time. You are the light bearer to this entire universe, the morning star. So the greatest conspiracy is with you and yourself. And this is why the whole transhumanism agenda and this whole belief behind it is a lie. There is no transhumanism going on because no human exists here. We are not human. I say this in every video, and I'm crazy today. Fast forward this video a while, and this will be common knowledge, factual, proven, just like saying the sky is blue. If I were to go into Walmart today and tell everybody, we're not human, do you know the looks that I would get? But if you do this 10 years from now, you're going to get looked at and be like, duh. That's common knowledge. That's basic knowledge. We already know that. It's going to be as common as the sky is blue. Thank you, Brother Richie. Thank you. It's not the book of Jacob, Logian 22. It's the Gospel of Thomas. I get those books confused all the time because Jacob's Ladder, and I familiarize myself with that book so well that I get them confused all the time. So thank you. It's the Gospel of Thomas, Logian 22. So forgive me for that. So back to this here. So I could make the male life and all this as the 6. Let's just switch them around. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't make a difference. And that's what the Logian 22, the 2 becoming 1, talks about. And that's why, again, it's very revealing in powerful times we're in, because we're witnessing this human creation that we have conceived. We're witnessing it no longer start to identify as just male, as just feminine. We're halfway there, but see, we're scared to let go because we may hit that point of no return. But you are on the path already to non-binary, non-duality, because that is what we are. We are not human. Non-binary means not two. You're not male and you're not female. You are God itself. There is no gender No specific energy, masculine or feminine. They are the same energy, obviously given different parts. But again, you could switch the female with the male and the male with the female. You wouldn't know the difference. The same way you open your eyes in the morning and have breakfast and your food digests, it's all the same. It's all universal. Obviously, there are different bodily functions that come with each thing, but it's the same feeling. Every feeling is universal. It's all the same, one and the same, not two. So I'm going to show you what happens through numbers as the result of intercourse when we have sex. When we have sex, male and female joining together into a single unity. This is what you get through numbers, through 369 being the key to the universe. This is what you get. Forgive me, give me 1 second here. Okay. And you can test this for yourself. I'm not going to go ahead and write, obviously, the whole scenario. But again, if you want to go further with this, you can go as far as you want. This goes to infinity. And that is what Tesla meant by this is the key to the universe. And again, he's saying the same thing esoteric doctrines are saying, and what the Gospel of Thomas is saying, the two becoming one. But we don't see through that because he's speaking through numbers. And we don't know that numbers are speaking. At least 3 of them are. So what you get when we have sex, sexual intercourse, when you combine the male and the female into that single unity, 3 plus 3 equals 6. So 3 is going back to 6, which is the male inserting himself into the female. 3 plus 3 is 6. So the 3 goes into the 6. 6 plus 6 is 12. 12, 1 plus 2 equals 3. So the 6 now goes back into the 3. The female joining with the male. So just like that, you have 2 numbers replicating intercourse. The most powerful phenomenon in the universe. Through numbers. This is what he meant by this is the key to the universe. 3 goes into the 6, the male goes into the female goes right back into the male, and again, this goes to infinity. You can test it for yourself. 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 6 is 12, 1 plus 2 is 3, so that's right back to 3. 12 plus 3 is 15, 1 plus 5 is 6, so 3 goes back into 6. 15 plus 6 is 21, 2 plus 1 is 3, back to the 3, and so on, and so forth, and so on, and so forth. They go into each other. So male, female go into each other. They need each other to exist, to go into each other. Male, female, left, right. It's an illusion. That's what this talks about, 3, 6. So 3 and 6 are that duality, are the 2 coming from 1. Where's the 1? Well, you only have 1 number left, and it's 9. And 9 is what's called the God number because it goes into itself to infinity. You can add it, you can multiply it, you can divide it. It will always equal a sum total of itself, which is 9. Even if the numbers are 7 numbers long, Add up the numbers the way I just did with 12 and 21. 2 plus 1 is 3. Add up the numbers in that way, and it will always equal 9. Because 9 is God, is what we're representing as that central point. That point which everything is coming from. 3 and 6 come from 9. 3 and 6 join together to create the L force, or the central force of 9. But what they're creating, they already are. They are the 9. And that's what his map to multiplication is showing us, is primes and composite numbers. So you have 2. So the only composite numbers here, are your even numbers. So your even numbers are going to be your 4, your 6, your 8, and forgive me, your 9. So I shouldn't just say even numbers. 9 is a composite because, as we just covered, it goes into itself to infinity. So what makes a composite number is if it can be divided by itself, if it can go into itself. So your prime numbers would be 2, 3, 5, 7, and 11. And the reason 2, even though it's an even number, is a prime number because it cannot go into itself. You must do 1 times 2 to equal 2. It does not go into itself or divide by itself to equal itself. This is no different than what quantum physics proves. That's what's so cool about all this stuff, is it all is telling the same story. It's all proving oneness. This proves the same thing quantum physics proves about going into yourself, basically to create yourself. You are creating the universe through yourself. You're not product of the universe. You are it itself. You're not separate to. And that's what this shows, is the 9 is that self, that infinite self, which forever exists. So I'm going to read to you this chart here. 2 and 10 act as doublers, alternating between the doubling of prime positions next to them and across. The number 3 multiplies itself through the system as a perfect square. It bounces from position 3 to 6 to 9 to 12. All multiples of 3 are found in this position. Very few people understand this map because they have not drawn it themselves. They have not constructed it. It's very easy to create this map online using dots and lines. But when you draw this by hand, you will fully understand each and every number in a new way. Because what it's showing you is these composite numbers that go into themselves are speaking. And how are they speaking? They're creating geometric shapes. And what is every single thing around you? It is a geometric shape. So I'm sure you've heard the term before, everything is math. Math is everything. Everything is a number. Yes and no. Right? If you're looking at it in this sense, everything is absolutely a number. What's creating the reality around us and everything are from numbers. Numbers communicating with themselves to create the square. A square is a square because you have the composite 3. 3 goes into itself. So 3 can communicate with itself to produce a square. The 4. The 4 can communicate with itself to produce a triangle. You know of a triangle because a 4 spoke to itself and created a triangle. That's what it is. And this is your key to the universe right here. This proves the exact same thing that esoteric doctrines are proving or are showing, attempting to show us through symbols. The 2 are 1. 3 and 6 are the 9. Male, female are God. And the reason we have the word God is because we need a word. If we have male and female, if you have 3 and 6, we need something to represent that central point. So you have God, or you have the point. Some call it the point. In Freemasonry and Rosicrucian teachings, they call it the point. They don't even call it God. It's called the point. And in that point, they talk about all elements, all things, water, air, earth, wind, fire, everything coming from that point. And they talk about that point being chaotic. Chaos. There is no order in that point, which is why we don't recognize ourselves through it. Because again, you are not separate to it. You're communicating with yourself through that. So how would you be able to recognize it? You wouldn't. Unless you know what you're looking for. So once again, that third eye opening is vital, but it will never be achieved through a process. The process is what's keeping you from actually seeing clear. If there was an actual method to do something and then achieve this third eye opening, we would have to at some point talk about what this outcome looks like. What does it look like when you open this third eye through any type of doing you want to think of? Whether you sit in a room in silence and you think you open your third eye this way, or you hum, or listen to spiritual music, whatever you're doing. What is your expectation? What will it look like when you have opened that third eye? Do you just picture yourself opening your eyes and everything around you just moving and shifting, or you can see through walls now, or suddenly, things just start moving and changing? That's not how this works. You're always there. What you're trying to be or become, you have always been. There is no process you could ever possibly do here to be that any better. And this is why when I tell people meditation is the answer, you do not come out of meditation. I'm responded with, well, I can't just sit in my room all day and cross my legs and in a dark room. I mean, what does that look like? That's not life. That's not living. You've distorted what meditation is. You've confused what meditation is. Meditation is being ultimately free from any doing, from any doer. Because think about it, we're doing these things to achieve something for this doer. And the doer is speaking from right behind your eyes. There's a reason that our ancient cultures drew so much symbolism behind the third eye. And it's being brought so much superstition through the spiritual community. And I just shared a quote from my own grandfather, may he rest in peace. But I just shared a quote from him, and you know what? I don't even want to paraphrase it. I want to look it up and say it word for word, because I almost cried tears when I read this. At the perfect time it was needed, I read this, and oh my God, my heart was overflown. It was like he was speaking to me. That's the greatest part, as he is. But anyway. So divine for these times we're in right now. It's called spiritual superstitions. Some spiritual speculations seem fashioned from mere superstition. There's so very much that we don't understand. So we imagine meaningless connections between conditions and events, and even thoughts and acts, to give ourselves a sense that we can influence some scary things we know deep down we can't control. And there is nothing wrong with that, of course, unless we start believing in those superstitions. Thank you to my grandfather. Because that is everything that I've been talking about, how spirituality is just becoming the new form of religion. Obviously, a little more advanced, a little more hidden with what you're looking for, but it's becoming no different. You're looking for something that isn't there. The reason most people in spirituality leave religion is for that very principle. You become aware you're looking for something that isn't there. However, don't feel discouraged if you are on this path, because that is the path. You're on it. But remember this, you must be lost in order to find yourself, which means you must let go of completely all idea you've had of yourself, you have of yourself. And that's why people think it's so funny today when I tell them we are not human. No human has ever been born here. No human has ever died here. You don't know who you are, so you mistake it with the word human. You attach yourself to time when time is really in you. You attach yourself to the universe when the universe is really in you. When I die, where will I go? That's one of the greatest questions, and Ramana Maharshi answered it the best. I will be here. He said, my disciples say that I am dying, but I'm not going anywhere. Where will I go? I will be here. But again, the self that we're looking for, we will not recognize. So when I say I will be here, don't look for me through Tyler. Don't look for me through your eyes. Don't look for me through your senses. Discover the source to your senses, and you will discover who I am, because you will have discovered who you are. And you will realize in that very instantaneous moment, we have never been separate. I am with you right now. Right inside your heart. The mind, that's a different subject. The mind is what's allowing us to see ourselves. And when I say see ourselves, I mean literally that. We think we're seeing a setting, a place, when we look out in this mirror, but this is precisely that. This is a mirror. It takes shape in accordance to your mind. So the reason you look at this mirror and mistake it as a place is because your mind labels this as place. And what is a place? Place is a position in space. And then you go as far as to say, this is the solar system model. There's this planet, this planet, this planet, this planet, and so on and so forth. And what you're doing is just reinforcing and reinforcing and reinforcing the fact that I am in this physical place right here at this coordinate and that coordinate, and this cannot be denied. I am here. And the reason we do that is because we want to know who we are, where we've come from. We can't really know who we are until we know where we are. But the who and the where are one and the same. You will only meet the where in accordance to how you've met yourself. You will only meet the who in accordance to how deep you've dove into yourself. So for instance, the mind will have many, many questions. if you ever want to get to the root of these questions and cut the head off so that no more questions can form. Turn the lens on itself. That's the greatest question of all. Whoa, 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 whoa. The moment I answer this question, 10 more questions will follow. Why not turn this head on itself? Who is this speaking for me? What is this mind? That's what it means to look within. Take a time out. Take a pause from your life and everything you know, everything you exist through, and ask that real question. It may even frighten you. And if it does, you're on the right path. Spirituality is not associated with the phoenix for no reason. It hurts. It's going to hurt. It's going to scare you. Absolutely. That's spirituality. These processes that we do to fill our energy and build us up to this good, feel-good feeling is no different than what religions do. Your energy is depleted from you after your work week. And so you need a recharge, you need a refill. So you come back to this place. Again, I'm going to use that word. You come back to this place, but again, you can only meet the place in accordance to how you've met yourself. This awareness will mirror this awareness. So what that means is as long as I am playing small, I am pretending with myself, I am just human, I am mortal, and I am believing in these things. That's your boundary in your mind of how far you're willing to think and see into this mirror. So when you look out in this mirror, you're going to reinforce that dream. I am just human. I am mortal. I exist on earth. I am in some place. That's all you're doing here. In fact, space in the sky that we have, the only reason we have the sky is to prevent us from actually seeing into the abyss, because the abyss is your true face. The sky goes back to that boundary I talk about. The sky is no different than a barrier or a boundary, if you will. And a lot of people have asked the question, inside your head, inside your own mind, if you were inside your brain, the first question would be, what's outside these walls? Oh, that's a powerful question. Now you ask that question here, what's outside these walls? Because it's no different. It's no different. You're only seeing yourself through this picture. That's what's called a mirrorverse. It's literally that. There is no place you can look that is not a mirror. People, places, and things are all taking place within you. So when you're judging people, you're only viewing yourself. Nobody is seeing what you see. You're seeing into the depths of your own mind. So when there's something about someone you don't like, or, she's annoying, I don't like that, you're judging yourself from outside yourself. Maybe I don't like her because she's too loud, she talks too much. Well, I'm reserved, I'm quiet. That's why. That's my problem. You're more social. I'm reserved. We only judge ourselves. We only see ourselves. We only experience ourselves. And that goes with the quote of, you are the universe experiencing itself. And that's what the great injustice is by this word human. That is why I constantly stress in my statuses and in my videos that we're not human. We never have been. And this is why no human origin has been found up to this date. Because once again, it goes back to You're looking for something that isn't there. You're trying to force this dream in accordance to this human belief, and being mortal and obeying by all these boundaries and all this order you've brought. But just realize all this order that you know and exist through is an illusion. You've brought this order into being. Your true nature is chaos, which is why you won't recognize yourself. There's nothing to recognize. There's nothing that could be known. There isn't even the thought of, this is myself, this is what I am. There is that being, that knowing, that central knowing that doesn't even have the thought, I am God, I am this is what I am. You are that through the experience, not through the words. You do not become that. You're already. So I'd like to talk about what our idea of an awakening is, because it's a word that we use a lot in the spiritual community, and it's something that I think we do overuse a lot. Alice once asked the white rabbit, how long is forever? And the white rabbit cleverly responds, sometimes just 1 second. And if you ask me, that is a true awakening. It will never be brought to words. My awakening, for instance, was 4 years ago, and I could make videos every day until I passed away. I could never bring to words that awakening. Every video I've done since is me explaining the message or what I've discovered, but it can never explain that awakening, which is why I speak, though, because I want people to have a path, a guide on how to achieve this. The same as Buddha did, the same as Jesus did, the same as every person who has ever realized themselves. You go and share the knowledge, share the wealth. Because once again, once you know yourself, there is no other. So yes, I'm consciously talking to self, reflections of self, only I recognize you. I know I'm not talking to another, I'm talking to myself. And I'm consciously doing so. So an awakening represents that instantaneous moment of a simulated death. If you have ever experienced death or discovered who you truly are, and I'm talking about beyond ego, beyond name, meaning, okay, so let's put it this way. If you were in another body, if you woke up tomorrow in another body, knowing what you know, you would still recognize yourself. An awakening is what's known as a breakthrough, when you have fully released yourself of the concepts of life and death. There is no boundary. That is an awakening. You need no one to explain this to you. You understand it to your core. You don't need to go anywhere to achieve this or to feel the energy or to be that. So again, a lot of people ask me, how do you do these videos? How do you know all this stuff? And how do you... I'm given the blueprint. I'm giving you the answer. It's you. You have the truth the whole time. But it all comes down to the one factor. You don't know who you are. Every single aspect will always circle back around to that. You don't know who you are. That is an awakening. You know who you are. What that means is a pandemic strikes. You know who you are. Government rolls out with tanks, an army, martial law. They kick down your doors. You know who you are. Nothing, no one, no person, no man, no woman can come into my space, the core of my central being, and tell me who I am. You couldn't force me to do anything. You couldn't put a tank in my face. I know who I am. That is an awakening. There is no event, person, or place that will change this grounded knowing. You're always there. You're always that. That's how I do my videos. No effort needed. No required. No effort required. I'm already there. And I want to use one classical example here. And I'm not picking on this man because he has helped a bunch of people. So, you know, if he resonates with you or his messages resonate with you, that's beautiful. But if you are familiar with Bashar, B-A-S-H-A-R, Bashar. Now, I'm pretty sure that's not his real name, but what he does on his videos is he closes his eyes and does this thing on camera. And from his defense, he has people paying him to come see him. And what he tells people he's doing is channeling an alien from outer space. Now, what that alien is supposed to be or represent is that God, that space of all knowing, that godness. However, you will see on his videos, he is not that until he closes his eyes, and then he does this noise with his mouth, and he's doing all this weird stuff with his head, his mouth, his nose. For what? Who are you channeling out here? Because when I look out here, it reflects in here. Outer is inner. Inner is outer. Where am I not? Who am I channeling here? It's all me. That is the greatest message from God to itself. You're the only one here. And everything is the divine, which means everything is perfect as it is. You could be given 1 billion tries to dream this dream better, and you couldn't. Because even if you made all your loved ones live forever and all this, you'd realize the insanity beyond forever, the insanity behind a permanence, which is, again, I've covered this, why we're afraid of death. We're afraid of death because of permanence. So if you're afraid of death because of permanence, just think about it. You would be just as terrified as a permanent life. Being stuck, that's what it is, being stuck as life forever. But here's the catch. You are life itself. You are life forever, but not in the sense that you're thinking of the way I'm explaining it. You're not this life forever, and you're not anything out here forever. You are the entire thing which has no word, no form, no shape forever. You are life itself. Only you'll never know that fully. You'll never have to experience that fully. Because again, you aren't stuck. Everything is perfect as it is. Flowing perfectly as it is. From this pandemic to the lockdowns, this has been beautiful. Perfect. Just on time. Because if you look around, we're getting too spoiled. We're getting too comfortable. The smartphones, we have all the answers at our fingertips right now. Scientists have already come out and told people, we have proven your universe is not physical. So all the information is right at your fingertips. We're getting too spoiled. And when you get spoiled, you get comfortable. And when you get comfortable, you get lazy. And when you get lazy, the search ends. You're done. We're good. So you've come here to disturb your dream through what you call government and these people you don't like. But they're you.